What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Just gonna hit you with a few trade recaps here. Sorry I haven't made a few videos in the last couple weeks. I've been working the last 2 weeks, but got laid off again, unfortunately. So I work on a farm, so it's kind of on and off. And right now there's not a lot of work, so basically I'm off for the next couple weeks, so I can make some trading videos and get back into trading. I traded on Tuesday, so I can go over my trade there, green day, and I have a swing trade I want to go over as well, and I might be adding to that swing trade as well today. So I'm going to go over those things with you today. I might make a separate video for the swing trade, just to talk about my plans on that and other swing trades, but it'll be PLTR. So that's the ticker that I'm swing trading, just so you guys know. I'll go over that in the next video. If you guys want to check that out, feel free. But I'll go over my trades from today. So I was watching GTEC actually earlier, and I was looking at it for the short. Unfortunately, I couldn't get shares to short, so I was looking at it to short it in this area here when kind of you had this attempt to break above the VWAP, and then it got rejected. So in this area here, I was looking to get short, and I unfortunately couldn't get shares, so couldn't trade that stock, unfortunately. Yeah, that was basically the only one I was really trying to trade. I was kind of watching QS. This is another one that I've been kind of looking at for the swing trade. I was actually, I was really tempted yesterday to pick shares up in this thing, basically in this area, and the day before in the $48 area. So like this day here, I was really tempted to pick shares up here in the 48, and I really regret not picking them up. But QS is a company I really like. You know, anything below 50 I think is a buy, and in this area I think it's still a buy, but it's one of those where you have to be careful. I'd want to dip from this area here, hopefully back towards 50, but we'll see. Obviously it's just my opinion, but we'll see what happens there. Anyway, so today I was trading SUPV. So this thing, you know, it just kind of came out of nowhere. It popped out on the scanners, and I started looking at it. I was like, whoa, this thing just shot up huge. And then I was thinking, there's really not any news or anything, you know, on it. Like I was trying to find anything, and like normally if there's news, there'll be like a little N here. Like with GTEC, there's news, right? So I can click on it, and I can and I can pull up the news, you know, info box here, and I can see what the reason for why it's the catalyst, right? So this company's trading higher after the company announced a deal with South China Heavy Machinery Manufacturer Company for U.S. production of electric industrial vehicles. So it's an EV play. GTEC is one of those clean energy companies. They've been kind of there for a while. They're a very well-known company. I like the company. I don't like it at $17, but this is what happens when you have these kind of newer industries that are trying to be disruptive towards, especially in the technology and the energy spaces. So sorry if my camera was off there. I just noticed that. Sorry guys. This camera is a little bit of a pain in the butt. Sometimes like I don't know where I should have it. Like I want to make it higher. Like I was making some videos with it up here, and I kind of like that, to be honest with you. I like it better up there, but then I'm kind of not really looking at it. I'm always kind of looking at the screen instead of looking at that. So we'll see, but trying to get the best way. I don't know if you guys can let me know what way you guys think is best, but trying to try different things with what works best and what looks best and what feels right for you guys and for myself as well. So anyway, let's go over these trades on SUPV. So like I said, it was popping up today to like 350. You know, it kind of had this shoot from 235. Like I said, not really any news, no company specific thing that was making me think that this thing was, you know, worthy of having a bigger move. So when I saw it immediately reject from this level and then kind of start selling off, I was like, okay, this thing, if it breaks down below VWAP and then has that kind of, and this is classic, you know, weakness. This is something where, you know, some big trader came in and was like, I'm gonna pump this thing. So he pumped it up, and then when he got done with it, right, so about this candle he started to unload. So in the 350s he probably started to unload. He probably just had big orders out, 350 just unloading. And you know, anybody that saw this thing popping up is like, oh, this thing's gonna break 350, let's see if it can go to 4. So they're buying in the 350s, taking, you know, this big trader shares. And he just dumps. He just basically dumps all of his shares, and then you're left holding basically his shares at 350, and it never is able to get back there because there's no reason for the stock. It's not like the stock's like, hey, we just saved, we just cured cancer or something. There's no catalyst. There's no reason for the stock to be moving. So you get what is expected, which is a reversal. Like being up 20% on no news is pretty good, but being up close to 60% or whatever it was when it was at 363, another dollar above what it is now. So it would have been up, it's 20%, 50, so it would have been up like 60% basically. So it has no reason to be up that much. So you're looking at it like, okay, this is classic weakness. And when you see this here, this is another example of an area where you can look to get short, because when you see it, these candles here, you start getting resistance here in the 340 area, right? So you can get short anywhere, in after this candle, just knowing that if it breaks back above this candle, it's looking bullish again, but if it stays below, then obviously it's going to be bearish, as it did. And so this example here, where it breaks down below the VWAP and then is able to consolidate below the VWAP, trying to push above it, but just not with any real, it doesn't get the volume, nor does it get the ability of, buyers coming in to push this thing above the VWAP and hold. So it actually holds below the VWAP, and the VWAP starts to act as resistance. And this is what you'll find, going both ways. It happens going long as well. You could see here when this thing broke above the VWAP and then tried to break down, the VWAP acted as support, right? And that's when it was strong, and that's when this big buyer or whoever was trading this decided, hey, this thing's this thing looks strong now, we're gonna hold it above the VWAP, we're gonna buy it at the VWAP. And so as it was pushing up, that's what was going on. But as soon as it started to reverse, as soon as all these bigger traders started to get out and everybody started to dump their shares, and then all the smaller guys started to panic and sell as well, you had these big flushes, and then not enough buyers stepping in to push it up. And at that level, you have this combination of ascending red volume and descending green volume, right? And when you have that combination, you have a pretty powerful short setup, right? So that's what I was trading when I looked at this. I was like, you know what? This thing looks like something that is going to reject. And the good thing I liked about this trade was that, and it would have been nicer if I got in up here, right, at $3. And it's funny because I was watching it in here and I was just hesitant because I didn't want it to get that big spike of green volume that then sent it above the VWAP and shot this thing back up to 350, because it very well could have done that. So in my mind, I'm looking at it like, okay, I'm going to hold this thing, or I'm going to wait on this and hold out until it shows me that it really is on a downward trend. And what I mean by that is, if you see the bottom of this candle here, right? So the bottom of this candle was 290, right? So it came down here, it flushed down, and it hit this 290 level, right? So you see that right here. It hit this 290 level, and then you had this bounce. This bounce is showing you that there's buyers stepping in at 290. Okay, so buyers are stepping in at 290, picking this thing up, hopefully hoping this thing can bounce and give you a nice move. As soon as it hits the VWAP and then comes back down, and you see these candle wicks as selling pressure, and then the reversal, and it breaks this low of 290 and it starts to move lower, you know that this is now in a downward trend, and it's not going to hold here as the new bottom and then move higher, because it very well could have bounced down, hit 290, that could have been the new low, and then it just bounced back up to a new high of $4, right? But instead it showed us that it wanted to break down below 290 and give a downward move. So when it showed me that, I was willing to get in with a short around, just below 290 at the 287 level here and the 286 level, knowing that my stop is the volume weighted average price at 304 and my target is down towards 250. So you can see as it moved up, there was support kind of in the 270s, but also in the 250s. So I figured the 270s would probably break, but 250s would probably act as staunch resistance. But I also wanted to be careful, because if this thing started to reverse, it could come back against me strong, and it did do that. But you can see the way I managed the position, I was able to turn this from a potential bad trade to a end up winning trade just by being confident in my setup and confident in what I was seeing and confident in what I believed the stock was going to do. So when I got short here in the 286, 287, my average being about 286.5, I was looking for a push down below into the 270s. We got that almost immediately. And I was like, you know what? This feels like we might be seeing, and the way it looked, the selling pressure started to dry up and you started to get these big green candles. Now, just because this candle is green doesn't mean it's all buying volume. There's a lot of selling volume. You saw that by the fact that it was down. This candle opened red and it went down red, right? And then buyers came in and pushed it to green. So half of these are probably sellers, and same with this candle, there were sellers as well. So, but the idea here is that you have ascending green volume. So from the green volume that you saw here, obviously there's a lot more coming in here. So people are willing to buy it here in the 270s. When I saw that, I was like, all right, it hit 278, and then I was like, you know what? I hit markets to get out to cover my shares there for a quick 6, 7, 8 cent win, right? So that was a decent trade. Not a home run, not anything amazing, but a decent trade. After I saw this thing trying to bounce up, but then hitting resistance and hitting selling pressure, I figured, you know what, I'll give it a test by getting in again in the 280s and using VWAP as my stop. And VWAP was coming down, so now it was around the 290, 298 level, right? And it continued to move higher as it kind of held this 280 level. It was able to push higher. So this kind of scared me, but at the same time, my plan from the beginning was always hold and see if it can't break above the VWAP. If it can't break above the VWAP, and that's why you saw I covered. So I had shares here and around with about a 280.25 average, and I covered half of them here for like a 9-cent loss, just because I kind of saw the pressure, the volume coming in, and I didn't want to push this against me. But I didn't cover all my shares because I knew that if I held, and I added again to the top here, this thing could probably push lower. And you can see it's pushing lower down to the 250 area, like I said earlier. It was gonna test that 275. If it could break 275, it was probably gonna move down to 250. So this is a clear reversal, right? And it's doing exactly what I thought it would do. And I could have gotten in short again here in the 275 because now you can see 275 is acting as resistance. So here it was acting as support. You can see it came down, went below, and then came back up immediately. But now as it tested again, had a little bounce, but broke 275, and now it's breaking lower. And this is kind of it's the opposite of trading long, right? When you're trading long, you're looking for something to make new highs. You're looking for it to kind of, break those candles. So if you have this candle here, it breaks the high of this candle, and then this candle breaks the high of this candle. So you're like, okay, this is looking strong again, right? And then obviously this candle breaks the high of this candle, so this is a bullish trend again, right? But because it's below the volume weighted average price, you have this heavy level of resistance. And if it can break above it, then obviously this thing can move a lot higher. But if it can't, the likeliness, and most stocks, when you have this kind of selling pressure, they typically do end up always coming back to the VWAP, but then rejecting. And so I was waiting, ready to cover if it did break above and hold, but knowing that if it wasn't, I was going to get in short again. So it went up to about 298, 299, and I was like, all right, hit $3, and I was like, you know what? And it flushed back down, and I got back in 292. So I still had shares from here. So now I'm in a decent size, about 200 shares. My average being now around like the 288s level or the 286s, because depending on where, obviously the 282s and then there, so 282 to 292. So actually it's probably more like 285, 286. So anyway, 285, 286 is then my average because I added up here in the 290s. So it flushes down here, it rejects from the VWAP just like I was expecting. Which is why I didn't sell all my shares. I only sold half my shares and then added once I saw it reject and not able to get sufficient enough volume to break the volume weighted average price. So then I basically covered half the shares as it pushed down and hit that 275 level, knowing that if that acts as support, again, it could push back against me, but it's still a nice 10-cent move. And then it pushed lower again, So I covered the rest in the 271.82s, giving me about a 14-cent win. Obviously, from the very top, that's a 20-cent win. So 6-7% basically on that trade. So not a bad trade, not bad trades overall. And like I said, like this could have been this is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically five trades, 5 different entries, and one kind of loss. So 4 for 5 I was on these trades, netting me a decent profit, giving me a decent profit on the day. So that was SUPV. That was today. The other day I traded, on Tuesday I traded another stock, another short. So this one, ALJJ, I traded on Tuesday, and it was kind of the same setup that I actually just traded in SUPV. So for you guys to look at kind of what the setup is here, it's the same kind of setup, but instead of me waiting for it to break below the volume weighted average price, instead I was getting in at the top, because kind of like this stock, I noticed that this stock was kind of pushing on it was either really weak or no news. So it was really it was strong pre-market, but then you had this massive sell-off, and there was really nothing but selling volume. So out of the gates, I saw it pop, and I was like, you know what? Let's see kind of the levels and kind of where we have support and resistance, and you can just see these huge wicks. Anytime it would get above kind of like this 260 level, this 250 level into the 270s, you would just get these huge levels of resistance, and it would literally pop up and then immediately back down. So I was thinking, well, you know what, I'll get in here, hopefully around like the 270s, 260s, and use the 275 as a stop. So if it is able to consolidate and break above 275, I'll get out, but I'll hold it for a downward move, because this thing looks weak, right? It looks like it wants to, because like you can just see all of these candles, they're selling pressure. None of these candles are like clean moves. They're all move up, sell, 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 move up, sell, 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 move up, sell, 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 move up, sell, sell, sell. So eventually the sellers, the shorts, are going to win, right? Eventually the sellers are going to take over, and all of these candles where you see these tons of selling pressure, eventually it's going to topple, and these shorts are going to take over, which is what happened. But you also want to be aware that just because the shorts will eventually take over, you don't know when that's going to happen. So obviously when you see towards the end of the day, they really took over. But prior to this real collapse here, this flush down, it was relatively strong, so you had to be careful with it. And I was kind of I like to trade in the morning, and I don't like to trade for too long in the day. I like to trade for a few hours. If I have to, I'll trade longer, but I usually only try to make a few trades. So if I can get a few winning trades in the day, I usually walk away. And that's the best way to be, right? Because I find that over trading is probably the biggest kryptonite for most beginner traders, is that they get into the markets and they're like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million, and they maybe have 1 or 2 losing trades, and then they want to get back in, so they make 2 or 3 more trades, and they make 3 or 4 more trades, and then by the next time you know it, they're down $30-$40 in commission and $200 or $300 on the day, half their and their accounts wiped out in 2 or 3 weeks because they just over trade, right? You don't have to trade a ton, right? Even these trades, like, it looks like I'm trading a ton, but really, like, I get pretty good. Like, I only pay 1 cent per share, so this is only $1 for every one of these executions for me. And some of them, like, these are 50 cents, right? Like 50 shares is 50 cents. So it's not insane. It only cost me like maybe $5-6 to make this amount of trades. For some brokers, that might charge you $20-$30 to make those trades, and then that trade right there is pretty much a break-even trade, right? Or just a slight win. And that's the problem with your broker and things in that nature, is you have to kind of find the proper broker that allows you to trade the way you want to trade, and be able to either make less trades or more trades if you want. But being able to get cheaper commissions obviously makes it a lot easier for you to trade more often. So, like I said, with this ALJJ, it came up into this kind of 270 area, and I felt it was just way over bought. And you can see this Keltner channel line is just kind of slowly grinding up, but at this level you start to see it fading and it start to kind of have this downward kind of move coming. So basically I was just anticipating that, got in here for the quick short, got in the 260s, basically was able to cover in the 247s, and then again in the 259s when it kind of started to come against me. So I got out kind of break even, knowing that like that would keep me with a nice green trade at least. Not an insane, a really small winner, but still a winner nonetheless. And then I was immediately like, okay, this kind of candle up here was just a fake out. Basically, it was a false breakout because it looked like it was going to break the high of this candle and then give us a move to the long side again, but really it just got slammed back down, and then this candle looked weak again, so I got short again, and I actually got short I think I just got short the same amount, but it filled me twice, so 50-50, or maybe I incrementally got in at with only 50 shares, knowing that I was going to build my position. If it went against me, I would have more buying power to then add to my position, right? So I was able to get in the 254s, and around the 250, just in the 250, 253 average, and I was able to cover down here towards the 240s, about a 241 average for where I covered, so about 10 cents, which is about 5% on this stock, which isn't bad. First trade was about 5% win on half the shares, and then break even, and then second one was another 5% win on all the shares. So that was my trade there on ALJJ, and like I said, it would have been nice once this broke here to then you could have gotten short any one of these pops where it tries to come back up to the volume weighted average price. You'd get short kind of here in this 235 area with 240, 250 basically as your stop, or 247, the VWAP is your stop, knowing that this thing's probably going to sell off because you had just so much selling pressure, and all these buyers that are coming in are looking to get long, and then once this stock fades, they're gonna all have to get out, right? So they slowly get out here, and then everybody dumps there and panics, and then once it's down here, you basically just have shorts looking at it like, oh, this thing's really weak, I'm gonna try and short it, and then buyers are coming in, thinking, okay, maybe this thing can run again, but once it proves that it's breaking this low here, so once it breaks this low around 215, it's a short, and you just hammer it down, and you see it would have been a nice trade to just basically hammer this thing down and hold it. Even, obviously hammer it down here at 215, cover in the 185s, and then you could reshort it again and kind of just keep playing that game, right? So that's kind of the strategy that I usually do for when I'm shorting, is I look for some weakness or a stock that really is running on no news or some kind of, really weak catalyst, and then it pops out of the gate, gives you a huge move higher, and then it flushes down, comes back into the VWAP, and then gives you this rejection, right? And this gives you the ability to get in with a tight stop, knowing that you're going to stop out if it breaks above your price, that VWAP, and give you a solid entry, so that you can then basically not be scared. Where you're, the biggest thing a lot of times is not necessarily where you take profits, but where you're gonna stop out. That's my main consideration when I get into a trade, is where am I gonna get out if it goes against me? Because my profit goal is always 10%. So if it pushes 10%, I'm out. I'm usually always taking profits, at least half, maybe even 70-80% of my profits I'm usually taking after a 10% profit. But going against me, usually I want a better stop. 10% is usually my max. So my max stop loss is 10%. If it goes 10% against me, I'm out no matter what. But generally, that's why I try and get in with these kind of entries where, if it goes against me here, 15, 16 cents, it's really only 5-6% of, of my shares in this trade. So then I'm not losing. It's not a max loss for me. It's basically I can get out, losing only 5% and being like, okay, cool, get into the next trade, right? And if I can make 10, 15, 20% on the next trade, then it's fine, right? Then it all evens it out. It's being able to kind of give yourself the best risk management, which means giving yourself, the ability to get in at the best entry price closest to support or resistance, which then gives you a clear level to get out if it goes against you. So that's kind of the way I look at my shorts a lot of times. I don't always like to go short. I like to go long sometimes. I was thinking of going long on GTEC today, or even ACIC. It looked really good early, and I was thinking around the $17 that I wanted to go long, but then I kind of just missed it, and I was waiting for a pullback, and he never really got it, and then it kind of just started to fade. So I was not really interested in it, but it looked really good. You know, when you have this break of VWAP, a lot of times if you get in anywhere close to VWAP or even on this pullback and just hold, you're usually going to be in a pretty good position, right? You want to play these trends rather than trying to like pick the top or like buy, you know, way up here. You want to kind of buy close to the volume weighted average price, so then you'll have support. If it goes against you, you don't have to hold it and hope, you know, as it moves against you, you'll have a clear level, clear line in the sand saying, boom, if it goes down below this, I'm out. Just like here, if it goes up against above the VWAP, I'm out. So that's my strategy there. I'm gonna throw out another video after this about my swing trades. So hopefully you guys will come back and check that out. But other than that, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this trade, and if you guys have any other comments or things you want to let me know or things you want me to discuss, feel free to leave them below. Thanks, guys.